What is going on, everyone? Welcome into Bayou Bengals football. So let's get into it. LSU sitting at about 2.5 point favorites for the Ole Miss for when they take on Ole Miss this Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Time, or 5 p.m. Central Time. Excuse me. They will travel. LSU can travel to Ole Miss to take on the Rebels. So LSU. The question for this game is can the defense continue to improve? The defense really just needs to continue to take steps of improvement. You saw there's just too many lapses in coverage. There's too many big plays. They let Arkansas move the ball too effectively. They're going to have to clean up a lot of that in this game. So can they do that? I think that's what's going to be key for LSU to have a really successful season this year is can the defense just continue to improve as the year goes on? And if they do so, because the offense, I feel like at this point, the LSU offense has really kind of set the tone for what their identity is, what they're going to be like. Jane Daniels, he's going to have some mistakes. He's going to take a sack that hurts him. He'll throw some interceptions, but the offensive line is just such a presence up front, and Logan Diggs has become such an effective runner that they are going to put up points. They are going to move the ball. They are going to have pretty much an edge over every opponent they play when it comes to the offensive line having or their offensive line having the edge against opponents' defensive line. So LSU is really going to be a presence on the offensive line. They are going to putting up points will certainly be the name of their game. But the defense has to just, if the defense can improve with it, that will be crucial for them. But yeah, I would like to see Mason Smith have a better game against Arkansas. I think Mason Smith is due for a really big game. I think Harold Perkins is going to continue to get better and better. I think he had a sack to close the half. I think it was awesome. I forget that LSU almost trailed 13-3. I know they had that late touchdown at the end of the first half, but LSU almost trailed 13-3 in this game at halftime. I know it was 13-10 at halftime, but it easily could have been a 13-3 deficit at the half. But that's what's crazy. And to me, I didn't say this at the time, but with LSU's offense, I was not really concerned that, I'm never concerned, not even in this game, I'm not concerned that LSU's offense is going to put up points. I have a true confidence and belief in their offensive line that they're going to put up points. I think it's just a matter of, the defense has to keep creating turnovers. Andre Sam's going to have to keep playing at a high level for him. I know he got them a turnover. He's played really good football. Mason Smith is going to have his big game. Harold Perkins is going to have, Harold Perkins plays well in every game, but Harold Perkins, him and Mason Smith are going to, if it's not one or both, if it's not one, it's the other, or both. One of those guys has to have, a string of big games for this defense to really be effective. But yeah, that's the burning question with LSU's defense is, and like Kirk Herbstreit talked about, LSU, the offense, he didn't really say this, but kind of to my point, the offense kind of is what it is at this point, and I don't mean that. I'm not taking away I'm not trying to sell them short, but that they are a presence at the line of scrimmage, playmakers at receiver. Is this offense the 2019 LSU offense? No, but it is an outstanding one and a very good offensive line. Absolutely. And is Malik Neighbors an NFL receiver and Logan Diggs are NFL running back? Absolutely. But they're not the 2019 offense, but a really good offense nonetheless. But the defense has to, I guess they're, not that all defenses have an identity, but I would say LSU doesn't really have an identity defensively. What I guess my question would be, and I would want Matt House to answer this. Matt House, the defensive coordinator. I would want Matt House to answer this truthfully. What is LSU's? What is their identity defensively? And same with Brian Kelly. I would pose that question to him too, and I would want the Robert De Niro lie detector test. I would want to know what is his identity as far as the defense goes. I know. Well, I guess we kind of got that answer with Brian Kelly. I know he's a guy that wants to win on the interior, like at the defensive tackle position. Obviously, that's why he wanted Mason Smith back. So he wants to win in the defensive interior. They want to stop the run. I would say those are probably that's Brian Kelly's identity. I would go. I think it's safe to say that's what Matt House wants to do. But what is that's great, but how? So I guess we answered that question, but how? What is the answer for the linebackers and the defensive backs? Like what? I guess we kind of solved that question I was just pondering there, or answered my own question, I guess. But what is the answer to help the linebackers in the defensive backs grow up and improve? I know Whit Weeks is playing some football. Good football. He's a young guy. Greg Penn is an experienced guy who's doing a really nice job. But to me, it's just they need Weeks. They need Omar Spates back. They need some more, plays like Harold Perkins getting that sack at the end of the half. They need more plays like that in order to have a really dominant type of season this year. But yeah, some of those coverage busts that happened against Arkansas, that can't happen. I know KJ Jefferson's a special quarterback, but they made him look a little too good in that game. And the same's going to go. Ole Miss has got some playmakers. They have a talented running back in Judkins, so. It's gonna be kind of the similar story to Ole Miss a little bit. There's some things similar to Mississippi State in Arkansas. They have they're an offense that can move the ball. They're a team that's no slouch, even though they're not really. This is not an elite team made up of a bunch of elite players. There's a lot of good players, a well-coached offensive mind. Similar to, like Mississippi State, they have a really good running back who can run between the tackles, break tackles. And then like Arkansas, they have a mobile quarterback who can make plays. They can put up points. They can move the ball. They can take advantage of your defense being out of place. So there's a lot of Ole Miss is similar to Arkansas and Mississippi State, but we saw kind of two different teams. How's the defense going to play in this game? I think if LSU defense plays, I think the key to me, LSU is a defense where ideally, Matt House is preaching. I guess this kind of can answer the identity question. Matt House is preaching. He wants to take away the ball. He referenced. I remember in his off-season press conference, I believe it was the spring press conference. Excuse me. They want to create takeaways. They want to create, obviously, creating takeaways is big, but also they want to. They also, to me, the Mississippi State game when they played one of maybe their best performance overall, actually, including the Grambling game against Mississippi State. They defensively, they were just getting stops. Sometimes I'm come from that belief. I think turnovers are great. Turnovers can be huge momentum swings, but sometimes just getting stops is huge. Especially if you get stops early. Because let's say it's like in the Mississippi State game or some other games, if you get stops early and you can get a 1-2 possession lead, that can just set the confidence boost right away in the game. And the rest of the game, you can just continue to get a string of stops, maybe get a couple more scores. That is exactly the way the game against that was a satisfying game against Mississippi State. If you're an LSU fan, if you're a fan of football, because it's just LSU just scored when they needed to and got stops. That is, obviously that is kind of the simplest form of winning in sports. But to me, obviously it's a lot easier said than done, especially in the SEC. And that's the thing. I guess what I'm trying to say is I come from a belief in getting stops. So LSU, can they get a string of stops? Because it's like in psychology. Urban Meyer used to tell his team, get a first down. Because what happens when you get one first down? You're more likely to get two. That's what LSU against Mississippi State. They got a stop early. So what does that likely mean? So that means it gives you a belief that you're going to get two stops. Oh, look, we got three stops. We got multiple 3 and outs. We got Mississippi State not really believing they could move the ball offensively, even though the prior 2 weeks they had done a really good job of. A fairly good job of moving the ball. Now this Mississippi State team is really questioning themselves early on, and so not only is it a confidence boost for you early, it's a huge disbelief, if you will, for the opposing offense. But yeah, in this game, Savion Jones, I think, is a guy that's going to be key in this game. They really need him to play well. Savion Jones did a really good job. Speaking against Mississippi State, he did a really nice job in that game, just kind of holding his ground, being stout against the run. The LSU defense, I guess to me, I would say, Kirk Herbstreit kind of talked about this. That game was more so indicative of, maybe he's not as much of bad defense. It was more so just such high execution offensively and just such a high level, such a well performance or such a great performance by both quarterbacks. So KJ Jefferson, looked great in that game. Who was the other? Or who's the other guy? Jaden Daniels, the LSU quarterback, or LSU QB. He played phenomenal. Jaden Daniels. I wouldn't say Daniels or Jefferson actually. Excuse me. I don't know if I would say they both played phenomenal, but I would say they certainly played at a very high level. That was one of those games where you talk about it's a satisfying. You talk about LSU's defense against Mississippi State was a satisfying game. If you're a fan of offense and if you're a fan of close, competitive games, college football game, that LSU-Arkansas game really was the game for you. And it was, to me, sometimes you'll see a 34-31 game and, there's pick sixes, fumbles, return for a touch. That was just a fairly clean game where it was just big plays, chunk plays, good play calling, good offensive line play. That is just, that was, I guess what I'm trying to say is that was probably close to an NFL level of performance, just high, just such high-end level execution, big time players stepping up, great receiver, great receiving play, quarterbacks making plays, outside of structure like KJ Jefferson did and Jaden Daniels, key scrambles, Logan Diggs running the ball very effectively, hitting the hole, bursting through, hard hitting SEC Saturday night game. Just had all the ingredients of everything you love in a fantastic college football game. But yeah, what else to watch for? I think that, to me, this has a game where you kind of get the feel like LSU should dominate Ole Miss's defense, but I think it'll be similar to last game. I think LSU will move the ball, but I don't think they can really. I don't really think they can truly be. I don't think they're going to completely, utterly dominate Ole Miss's defense. For whatever reason, LSU against Ole Miss, even though their defense isn't, overly stout, they still tend to find a way to get stops and some turnovers. I don't know what it is about Ole Miss, even though, you look at them, I haven't been wowed away by their defensive line or their defense as a whole, but yeah, they just, they'll find a way to get a turnover. I feel like Ole Miss will get some stops in this game. They might get a turnover or two. But yeah, I think LSU will put up some points. I have a hard time believing that LSU won't score at least 20 points in this game, probably at least 24 points. So I think LSU puts up some points, but I don't think this game probably is as high. What was last year's game, 31-24? I think we'll probably see a similar score. I'm going to go 34-27, 34-23. I think LSU gets it done. I think they do. I'm going to say LSU does cover. I think that this game is competitive, but I think LSU makes a play towards the end of the game to kind of pull away. But, yeah, I think this game will probably be, I think in the first half, this one will be maybe the opposite of Arkansas. I think in the first half you'll see some high-end level plays. I think we'll see some adjustments in the second half. I think it won't be as high scoring, but I think LSU will make a play. They'll pull away towards the end, 34-23. They'll get it done. So, yeah, I think LSU should win by 11 in this game, but I think this has the makings to be a really good one. I think especially in the first half you'll see some high, some scoring, some good plays, chunk plays. So. But yeah, Malik, how Ole Miss chooses to defend Malik Neighbors will be interesting in this game. Malik Neighbors, does Ole Miss double team him? Teams are really good. I've been talking about this, and Arkansas, I think they did a better job, but to me, with Brian Thomas really emerging as a key playmaker, the guy that can create big plays, that is so crucial to this LSU offense because to me, like Brian Thomas, to me, Malik Neighbors by himself, I think is obviously having his elite playmaking ability is fantastic, but with Brian Thomas going off too, that is just going to put so much pressure on opposing defenses that that is really a cause for if you're the defensive coordinator for Ole Miss, LSU or Ole Miss's defense, they are really going to have to worry about Malik Neighbors, but also they're going to have to worry about if we focus too much on Malik Neighbors, does Brian Thomas beat us? That's the thing. You cannot, when you have two really good wide receivers, that just amplifies the pressure on opposing defenses because you can't take away two wide receivers, or at least it's very difficult to. So that's the thing. Maybe this is the game. If there's ever a game that's set up for Kyron Lacy to really do something big, this game has that kind of feel because Ole Miss is gonna have to. I'm sure that's in their mind that they're going to have to try to take away one of those guys and do the best they can to limit both of them. You're not going to take away both of them, but if they do a lot of things, if they do some different things to try to eliminate both those guys, Kyron Lacy's probably going to have his opportunity. I actually am going to go out on a limb here and say this is probably a Mason Taylor game. I think that Ole Miss, with even though they have athletes defensively, with their kind of lack of size, and I think Mason Taylor, a matchup, a bigger guy, I think Mason Taylor will really thrive in this game. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Mason Taylor has a big game in this one. So keep an eye on Mason Taylor in this one. I think he has a really nice game, and I think he puts a lot of pressure on this Ole Miss defense. And yeah, Mason Taylor, he missed the Mississippi State game, but it's been fairly quiet this year. I know against Grambling they got way ahead, so he didn't play as many snaps. Against Florida State, he was okay. But yeah, maybe this is the game where we're either reminded of Kyron Lacy or we're reminded of Mason Taylor. But I guess in the case of Kyron Lacy, it's not really being reminded of. It's more so he still needs to prove something. But yeah, keep an eye on those two guys, Kyron Lacy, Mason Taylor. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Mason Taylor has a big game in this game. I might go as far as to say that he makes the key play that really, he probably has a chance to make the key first down or the key touchdown late that really puts this game out of reach. But yeah, we talk about, so let's discuss, so LSU's offensive line, after the Florida State game, I kind of had the overreaction that this isn't an elite offensive line. I guess I can't really necessarily say that this is not an elite offensive line, I can't say as of yet this is an elite offensive line, but I feel like they're making that push to become elite. It's a very good offensive line, absolutely. It's I think without a doubt this is a very good offensive line. I think when you have an offensive line, to me, you could argue in that first half LSU controlled. They were, that was a long discussion we had. You could argue in the first half against Florida State, they controlled that line of scrimmage, or at least I wouldn't say controlled the line of scrimmage. It was at least a stalemate at the line of scrimmage, which is big. But in the second half, I think that they played just so poorly that it made the offensive line look like they were just average to good. Actually, more so just made them look average. So I think that but against Mississippi State, you could argue the offensive line looked elite. So I think that it's kind of balanced. That's what kind of balances it out a little bit. And then the last, against Arkansas, it looked good. And then against Arkansas, it looked good. So I would say in Grambling, it looked very good to very good. I think it kind of balances itself out. So I think that, I would say the offensive line is very good. But yeah, that's the thing. If they can improve, and we see more of, if Zealand's Hurd plays so well that he eventually becomes the guy and is just utterly dominant to go along with Emory Jones, Will Campbell, Dellinger, and Turner, then you could say, this offensive line really is elite. So I think that's what we're really looking for the LSU offensive line. We're really looking to see, is this offensive line going to make a push to become elite? But yeah, Jaden Daniels, you talk about the LSU offensive line making a push to become elite. Jaden Daniels is kind of making that push to say he's a very good quarterback. I think it's very safe to say Jaden Daniels is a good quarterback. I think he is a guy that, to me, it's kind of like, I do see a little Lamar Jackson in Jaden Daniels, just in the sense that, the Ravens offensive line is good, arguably very good, and I think that really amplifies, his Lamar Jackson success. I think Jaden Daniels is a guy who, not that he's bad with a poor offensive line, but he's not as, there's more negative, he's just not as effective. He's a guy that benefits from having, that his talent is really shines more so when he has good players around him, hence Malik Neighbors, hence their offensive line, and then now with the emergence of Logan Diggs. So I think that, I didn't think about it at first, but yeah, Jaden Daniels, the more you look at it, LSU is the perfect fit for his skill set. And, that's something that, why Jaden Daniels last year around, a little over a year ago, won the job was because Brian Kelly, Brian Kelly is a believer at the quarterback position and not turning the ball over. And, Jaden Daniels has had some turnovers last year with LSU, obviously this year a little bit, but he is a guy that just does not, doesn't take some shots, which is the negative, but he also, that's the good thing. He doesn't take, unnecessary risk, and he does a good job of not turning the football over. So, but yeah, Logan Diggs, that's the other thing I want to touch on. Logan Diggs has been exactly what this LSU offense has needed. Logan Diggs, to me, I love watching him run between the tackles. He's just so, he's more explosive when he bursts through holes than I originally thought. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of what Logan Diggs has done. He is just exactly what this offense has needed. It's been cool that the media's spoken to him lately, the last 2 weeks, and I think that he's kind of been the LSU's secret weapon, and they need him to continue to perform at a high level, and I think he'll do that. Just a really special talent. And Caleb Jackson, hopefully we see more of Caleb Jackson, because that truck stick he had against Mississippi State was phenomenal. But yeah, I really thought, I look at a lot of these running backs, I think Logan Diggs, I was not ready to say is the best, but I think the press hit the nail on the head with him. The press kept a lot of time the media, the guys that the media are talking about, the guys that the media are asking the most about, a lot of times are the best guys, hence Logan Diggs, hence Caleb Jackson. But yeah, Josh Williams, he's a guy that I really don't want to say anything. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything negative, but Josh Williams is a guy who, he's as steady and reliable as they come, a guy with experience, but he's just a guy who, he's a guy that, when the defense is not really keying, he can make a play. But if the defense is kind of sold to stop the run, he's not going to break too many tackles, make too many guys miss. But yeah, Logan Diggs has that he has that good feel, vision, just understands, when holes are going to open up and how to burst through them, how to stay square, maneuver his body, quick cuts, I guess the point is, Logan Diggs has a lot of the traits to be a high-end level running back, and he's an excellent guy to have success in this offense with the talent their offensive line has. So, really excited what Logan Diggs has done. I think he's going to play a key part to this LSU offense this season. But yeah, fun matchup here. Lane Kiffin versus Brian Kelly. Two guys who, coaches that are experienced now. Brian Kelly, obviously a little older than Lane Kiffin, but Lane Kiffin, one of the best play callers in college football. So that'll be interesting to see. With his excellent play calling, does Lane Kiffin have some really good, some well-timed play calls to really take advantage of an LSU secondary that struggles at times? So it'd be interesting to see some of the play calling in this game from Lane Kiffin, and then some of the, I think this is going to be, to me, I really get the feel this is going to be a game of who makes the better second half adjustments, because, yeah, like I said, I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game in the first half, but the team that can adjust the best in the second half and just the best in the second half, the defense that can limit the big plays, and not in the offense that can not turn the ball over. I think that's going to be key. But yeah, keep an eye on Mason Taylor. I'm going to go out. I'll reiterate that again. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Mason Taylor has a big game in this one. But yeah, I worry. I think I speak for most of the LSU fans. If not, you guys can comment otherwise. But you get the feel, the Arkansas. I think that game had the feel of, Brian Kelly has had some letdown losses in his career. Not that there's coaches that haven't, but I feel like there's been too many letdown losses in Brian Kelly's career. You could argue the Florida State game was, but obviously the Florida State game they knew was going to be a challenge. But if they lost that game against Arkansas, you had the feel that is like the ultimate. That's just like the ultimate letdown, because it's a game where I know it's a tough game, but it's a game if you want to be a championship team, you got to win. This game has that feel too, that if LSU wants to win a championship, does this game eliminate LSU? No, but if they lose this game, I think that's just like, are you really championship worthy? Because I feel like LSU, I guess the bottom line of this game is LSU is the better football team. I think that you could argue Ole Miss. You could argue Ole Miss is the, I don't know what you could argue with Ole Miss. You could argue Ole Miss definitely has a legit chance to win this game, but to me, LSU with the way their offensive line's playing and enough talent defensively, and guys like Harold Perkins, Mason Smith, this is a game where they just, they should not lose. And then that's what's so tough, when you lose a game at Florida State, because you get the feel like it's almost, you get the feel like it could happen any week. This is a game where you play the game in the preseason, the win-loss game. This is a game where you get the feel that LSU, you kind of immediately pencil a win in this game. But it's one of those games where you get to the third quarter and you look at the score as 24-20, 24-23, even 24 all, and you're like, dang, yeah, this is why you play the games. The crowd's going crazy. So this is one of those games where, I guess the main point of where I'm going is this is going to be a challenge, and it's going to be one of those games where, like I talked about Brian Kelly after the Arkansas game, I think it's a game where, yeah, you're going to be nervous and you desperately do not want to lose this game, but when you win, you should feel some satisfaction, and you don't want to be too satisfied. You don't want to be too comfortable with getting the win, but you want to feel good, even if this is a 27-26 type of game. You want to feel good. But yeah, camera died, guys. So I got to wrap with that. Thanks for tuning in to Bayou Bengals football. Stay tuned for more episodes and clips from the show. Until next time, peace.